Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're looking into the surprising truth behind the 2007 film, Into the Wild.
What was he thinking when he headed west? Rejecting his privileged life, his family, even his own identity. Almost certainly he never envisioned the fate that awaited him.
Christopher McCandless was born in the Californian city of El Segundo, but was raised primarily in Fairfax County, Virginia. His father, Walt McCandless, had accepted a job at NASA working as an antenna specialist. If this seems like a good avenue for a happy and prosperous upbringing, it was betrayed by Walt's alleged alcoholism.
My earliest memories are just, you would feel the charge in the air. I mean, it was always there, but it would intensify.
Chris's sister, Corinne, states in her memoir that Walt was an alcoholic who mistreated both his wife and children. This spurred a sense of adventure into Christopher, as he wished to escape his tormented home life and the abuse that was inflicted on him by his father.
I want to go up to them and say, stop. Don't do it. She's the wrong woman. He's the wrong man. You are going to do things you cannot imagine you would ever do.
Shortly after graduating from Atlanta's Emory University, McCandless gave away the $50,000 he had saved and took to the wild, finally embracing his desire to travel and see the country.
Chris thought money was inherently evil. He thought nothing good came of it. You didn't need it. It was corrupting. It made you cautious and greedy and overly concerned about the wrong thing.
From Atlanta, he went to his home state of California and the Sierra Nevada mountains, and then down to states like Arizona, South Dakota, and Colorado. From here, he kayaked the Colorado River into Mexico via the Morelos Dam.
I understood what he was doing. That he had spent 4 years fulfilling the absurd and tedious duty of graduating from college.
McCandless traveled the United States for nearly 2 years before hitchhiking from South Dakota to Alaska.
It was an odyssey in the traditional sense of the word. He called it the spiritual revolution, to kill the false being within.
He wished to hike the state's Stampede Trail, a remote, dangerous, yet serenely beautiful path that stretches west from the small town of Healy. It was here that McCandless would die and become the famous name that he is today. A local resident named Jim Gallion was the last person to see McCandless alive, having given him a ride to the trail's start.
Here, take these. They'll keep your feet dry. If you make it out alive, give me a call.
Gallion was observant and noticed that McCandless was grossly unprepared for the demanding path. It seemed like McCandless was prepared for an afternoon hike, not a miles-long journey through the remote Alaskan bush. Knowing the dangers and realizing that McCandless wasn't ready for them, Gallion was hesitant about letting him go. He even offered to make the 4-hour drive into Anchorage to buy McCandless better supplies, but he refused.
He said he didn't want to see anybody. In fact, he gave me his watch. He had a comb, he had about 85 cents in change, and he just threw it on the dash of my truck.
Believing that McCandless would abandon the trail once hunger set in, Gallion reluctantly let the hiker go, and he ventured into the wild for the last time. McCandless made it 28 miles into the trail before coming across the abandoned bus that would eventually become his tomb. This bus dated back to 1946 and is officially known as Fairbanks City Transit System Bus 142. This bus had been towed into location by a bulldozer and accommodated construction crews who worked on roads in the area. Most of these roads serviced the nearby Stampede Mine, and when this closed in the 1970s, the buses were removed and the roads fell into disrepair. However, Bus 142 had broken an axle and could not be towed away. Instead, the Utan Construction Company left it behind to service hunters and hikers. McCandless took full advantage of this generosity and set up shop in the abandoned bus. Deterred by the thick Alaskan bush, McCandless decided to camp at the bus and live off the land with his semi-automatic rifle. Aiding in his endeavor was a 10-pound bag of rice, camping equipment, and a book on local plant life.
No longer to be poisoned by civilization, he flees and walks alone upon the land to become lost in the wild.
McCandless spent over 3 months in the area, using his book to forage edible plants and his gun to kill various animals like squirrels and geese. Satisfied with his time in the wild and running low on supplies, McCandless decided to head back, but found the nearby Teklanika River swollen and impassable. There was a hand-operated cable cart only a half a mile downstream that could have taken him across, but without a map, McCandless was unaware of this fact.
Disaster. Reined in. River looks impossible. Lonely. Scared.
He decided to head back to the bus and quickly realized that he would die without immediate intervention. He wrote an SOS on the bus, claiming that he was near death and too weak to hike out. McCandless was unable to survive for long, and he proudly accepted his impending death. He took one last picture of his filthy and emaciated figure and wrote a note that read, quote, "I have had a happy life and thank the Lord. Goodbye, and may God bless all."
To call each thing by its right name. By its right name.
Sometime in late August of 1992, McCandless died inside the bus, and his decomposing body was found by hunters 2 weeks later.
19 days later, 6 Alaskans happened across the bus and discovered the body. It weighed 67 pounds.
The exact nature of McCandless's death remains a mystery. Author John Krakauer posits in Into the Wild that McCandless died of protein poisoning.
These seeds are in fact poisonous, and when you eat it, it prevents your body from digesting food.
This occurs when someone gets all of their nutrition from protein and lean meat, which in turn causes a form of malnutrition. Essentially, the body is starved of necessary fats and shuts down. Yet another theory, championed by a man named Ronald Hamilton, claims that McCandless paralyzed himself and was unable to forage for food, which of course contributed to his death. According to Hamilton, McCandless likely ate the seeds of Hedysarum alpinium, which is commonly called wild potato. The seeds of wild potato contain a dangerous amino acid that causes latherism in malnourished humans. Latherism results in general weakness and typically affects the legs, resulting in muscle atrophy and paralysis. This theory is seemingly confirmed by McCandless himself. In a journal entry dated July 30th, McCandless wrote, "Extremely weak. Fault of potato seed. Much trouble just to stand up."
Starving to death is not a good way to die. It's a very painful way to die. You go into convulsions, hallucinations. It's not an easy way to go.
Author John Krakauer champions McCandless and defends his sense of naive adventure, and the accompanying film has a similar positive tone.
Strong. You can do anything. You can go anywhere. Money? Power is an illusion.
However, McCandless has left behind a very questionable legacy, and many people view him not as an idealistic but naive adventurer, but an idiot who has caused great harm.
So you're a leather now?
I'm a leather?
Yeah, leather tramp. That's what they call the ones that hoof it.
McCandless's story greatly popularized Bus 142, and it became a hot tourist destination.
This book is full of people who have, a lot of whom have traveled all across the world just to be here.
Unfortunately, it has also attracted unprepared idealists like McCandless. 2 people have died crossing the Teklanika River in an attempt to reach the bus, and numerous others have required rescue. The bus was eventually deemed a public health risk and was taken away by the Alaska Army National Guard. It now resides at the University of Alaska's Museum of the North. As for McCandless himself, many experts have openly shared their unfriendly opinion of his quest. To them, he was a rich boy who had silly and dangerous notions of being a vagabond who lived off the land. Alaskan park ranger Peter Christian famously called his adventure, quote, "stupid, tragic, and inconsiderate."
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Some people may defend his optimistic sense of adventure, and they certainly sympathize with his hostile home life.
When I think that people say, like, oh, I know Chris, it's really the sort of part of yourself that you see in Chris.
To them, he's a tragic figure. To others, he was a silly young man who harbored wildly unrealistic ambitions and who was grossly unprepared for the task at hand. They see McCandless as not only a danger to himself, but a danger to others as well. Maybe we shouldn't idolize his story, but nonetheless, it is a great story.
To dive into that swimming pool like that is something we all want to do somehow.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.